Hello and welcome to the Carbitrage Podcast, episode 246. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Sinitsky. Hello.
Hi.
And hi, Jenna.
Hello.
Sorry to distract you from iPad setup.
Oh, it's fine.
All right, before we dig into topics, patreon.com/carbitrage. On this super cool customized Patreon website, you will find two open-ended levels of support for content consumers or listeners like you to support content producers like us. Starting at $1.50, you get some super cool swag, some stickers, whatever you want. Just hit us up. You can also provide show topics if you are so inclined. Patreon.com/carbitrage. All right. Looks like Ryan's still on a bagel and a coffee. There's beer downstairs when he needs it. I have a Pabst Blue Ribbon. And Jana, you have some sort of coffee beverage?
Yeah, I've got an iced coffee from Rise, and I think it's oat milk with caramel.
Oat juice.
Oat
There's
beverage.
no oat nipple. There's no oat teat, as far as I'm aware, right?
Oat pulp.
Oat pulp. I like that more, actually. Oat pulp. All right. Fair enough.
I have a oat juice latte with hazelnut in it, and it's delicious.
Oh, it's all nuts.
Yeah,
Nice.
just nothing but nuts.
Actually,
Yeah, it's at Rise Bagels in North Loop. I mince no words when I say these are the best bagels I've ever had.
and you are Jewish, so I believe you.
Yeah, strong statement.
They're New York style, and people will say in New York City that it's the water that makes a bagel, but I think they should try Rise because they literally have very limited hours and they still close early almost every day because they sell out so fast.
They're theoretically open to one, but I've never been able to get a bagel.
So they close
after.
when they run out?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
I've never been able to get a bagel after about 11:30 in the morning. Yeah.
When you order online, you have to pick 3 different bagel options.
In case they run out of
Yeah.
You
the...
get what you get.
Oh, so it's like a vanity plate in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You get what you get. And it's really good.
I mean, yeah, I buy, like, crappy store-bought blueberry bagels sometimes
yeah.
for breakfast, but, like, that's it.
Yeah, I recommend going
Those are
here.
good for throwing in a toaster, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I eat them
Yeah.
raw. I don't know.
But
I'm an animal.
That too.
yeah, no, I would highly recommend going. And Kate, the owner's.
Does she have a cat?
Yes,
Good.
she does actually.
I like this business.
Yeah, she has a cat. I know her from Good Karma. She drove
very
a
good.
5-cylinder Golf with a manual
Nice.
to deliver bagels in it. Her car always smelled like bagels. It was wonderful. She would give them to us. It was great. I had a great time every time. She's one of my favorite customers. Bobble's is still my favorite customer. But Kate was number 2. But anyway, let's carry on.
You have the first topic,
I
so
do.
you carry us.
So, buy it now alert.
Okay.
FC RX-7s. Those have been cheap for the longest time. Not Turbo 2s, or I guess Turbo 2s.
I was going to say, there's like 2 FC, like...
No, there is just one.
There's just one?
It's just an FC.
Okay, I really thought there was like a later facelift or something.
No, you're thinking of the FB, the SA22C and /FB, the original one,
Okay.
where they had a completely different rear fascia. But this one is just the FC. It's the second generation RX-7.
I like this one outlier right here.
Yeah,
that
that's
race car.
yeah, it was a race car. But if you look at that graph, though, you can see that they're very quickly gaining steam, and that's like in the last year.
Yeah, it looks like they're all kind of doubling.
Yeah,
Like the low end is about, I mean, it used to be, what, 5 to 10 grand. Now it's 20-ish.
yeah, 10 to
and-
15.
And a nice one used to be like 20 to
Yeah.
low 20s, and now they're, 40, 50.
Yeah, people are being there's still some good examples coming out that on the auction, and for a long time, I think what kind of kept prices down is they were not the best ones that come to market. They'd be like the world's cleanest automatic non-turbo. The car, like the quality of the car is there, but not the spec.
I didn't know they sold these with an auto.
Yeah, or you could get it's
So many
How does a
It's
rotary deal
not
with
good.
torque converter power loss?
Very bad.
Okay.
I feel like
Ooh.
it would be very jerky.
Well, I feel like it would stall. Like
Yeah.
you'd have the thing would just foul trying to idle.
No, they're very gutless, is the most polite way I could put it. But like when you step on the gas, like you know how it feels like driving a 2.5 liter Altima.
I've actually never driven a 2.5 Altima.
versus like the V6.
I can, like, my
or like
mental...
a 4-cylinder higher trim level Camry, a 4-cylinder Solara.
They didn't make those.
Yes, it did.
Really?
Yes, John's dad has one.
I
They
thought
ma-
all Solaras were
Those in
V6.
Florida.
No, they were mostly 4 cylinders actually. They were only V6 if you see the V6 badge. So next time you see a Solara, look for a V6 badge because most of them are not.
So they just have the fancy muffler on them, even if they're 4-cylinders.
Yes. Yeah. So it feels like
Wow.
a
Both?
4-cylinder Solara basically, except rear-wheel drive with a very good chassis. Like,
So it's a momentum car, but
yeah,
Which
like
I
it's
have to
definitely a
say is
momentum car.
really weird to drive when you go from driving a good Toyota, like the Toyota Sienna,
Mhm.
to my dad's Solara was always really strange. Like, I'm like, this feels familiar, but not.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that Solaras are like the epitome of cowl shake to begin with, and if you combine that with a complete lack of all power,
Yeah.
They're fine. It's if you hadn't driven another Toyota, you'd be like, this is a good car. But if you've driven other Toyotas, you go, wow, is this a
letdown.
Toyota?
It is an absolute wet noodle of a car. It is just
It's perfect
I like-
family car.
The Clarkson analogy of a convertible, where you have a brick on two ends of a playing card, and it gets all wobbly.
yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It's just a wet noodle of a car. But
Oh
yeah,
my
so
God.
with these RX-7s that we're seeing is like now we're beginning to see more like very good manual ones, Turbo 2s with good interior, which is like actually the biggest attractor to Turbo 2s. Is usually you can find a Turbo 2 in decent nick,
Mhm.
but the interior is just like completely destroyed. Because if you look at like any of the Turbo 2s, you'll see the seats and how ridiculous the seats look, and then you immediately understand why their interiors aged quite poorly. So if you just find what says like Turbo 2, just like randomly, and then just like scroll to the
This one sold for 13, so I'm guessing the interior is not
Yeah,
going to
it-
be great.
Look at the seats though. Like this one that it
Like gallery, come on.
looks like he doesn't have the best seat, but look at that. Now make
Those
that
look like Mark II Recaro trophies from
Yeah.
a Golf.
now make that all leather, and then leather that hasn't been cared for 30 years, and you can see that that's just a whole liability.
Yeah, I would definitely get one with cloth, because it seems like that held up all right.
Yeah, I mean the leather actually looks really nice. It's a very good interior one. I mean all the interiors are great, but that's the thing is like FCs are like kind of a secret like
Oof.
known quantity of being a very good car for very little money.
It's probably a long time ago, but I know we talked about these and like
Yeah.
undervalued collector cars.
Yeah, this is I've been preaching the FC for a long time. It's just like if you want a good cheap Japanese car, FCs are it, and that time is quickly coming to an end.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get lucky at this point. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
to get a decent deal on one of these.
Because yeah, they're already going up, and I mean they're still very undervalued. Because I would say that these are like having driven most trim levels of E30
Mm-hmm.
and having driven most trim levels of this, I would put this like on par for driving dynamics with an E30. Like as far as like just how good it feels.
I believe that. I mean, I'm sure there are some trade-offs in like chassis longevity, but that doesn't. I mean, these are all going to be fine at this point because they're
Yeah.
not being driven through winters and all that
Yeah,
other stuff.
exactly. Yeah, it's not a winter car, obviously, but
Yeah, it looks like Turbo 2s are really shooting up in value.
yeah, you see what I mean? Like Turbo 2s went from being like very underpriced to being like, yeah, this is how much it should cost.
That one we just looked at sold in July of 2021 for $13,750.
yeah, and that
with
was
a decent
pretty,
interior.
pretty decent looking. And now
And
you're seeing them like in
40,
the last
50, 60 grand.
yeah, it's the market caught up like immediately.
Looks like the convertibles are still pretty cheap.
Yeah, actually, cars that are good, very good value, convertibles, not bad cars.
They look nice too, actually.
Yeah,
frankly.
they're a little bit heavier because like they actually put in like chassis rigidity, but like yeah,
I
they
think
put,
these were done at ATS, so that makes sense.
they are, yes, but I mean like what they did is like all the turbos are very similar to the Savannah trim level in Japan, where you get like the wire, not the wire, but the mesh wheels and like
Yep.
some nicer trim pieces. So yeah, so they're really cool cars. Like FCs are not bad in any way. Like you can't go wrong with an FC. Like even when you get an automatic one, like that's easily rectifiable.
Yeah, I assume there are still. I mean, there have to be parts cars because I mean, like any Mazda, they they all like to rust. So if anyone has ever driven one of these in the winter, it becomes a parts car.
Yeah, well, and another thing that's really nice about these is it's a Mazda. So Mazda people are very, very cliquey about driving Mazdas. So they will absolutely make sure that there's a fix available for anything that the car needs. And so companies like Racing Beat, they've been making parts for these cars for like 30 years nonstop. It's not like Honda where like Greddy will make like a great exhaust for a Civic and then discontinue it the second the car is discontinued.
Throw the jig in an incinerator.
Yeah, exactly. No, like these parts are all readily available. So yeah, they're really easy to maintain. They're really easy to live with. Rotary, yeah, I mean, they all need engine rebuilds, but I will happily take a RX-7 that you're gonna get a few good years out of living with, rebuild the engine, make a little bit more power out of your rebuild, and then, you know, at the end of the day, over the course of ownership, you've probably spent as much money as you would on like an E30. But
I mean, it's a rotary, so yeah, it's not reliable, but also it's not complicated. So
exactly.
Rebuilds are not what you'd call expensive.
yeah,
For
and that's
these
what I'm saying.
things.
Like at the end of the day, you're spending as much as you would on an E30, but the barrier of entry is
Yeah.
much lower than an E30 because like E30, like you're
It
putting all
was.
that money. You're putting all the money up front on an E30.
Right now, this looks about the same. I mean,
Yeah.
a
No,
nice
now it is,
convertible
yeah.
E30 is about the same. Like 325 IS is about what a Turbo not 2 costs, and man, Turbo 2s are like almost M3 money.
Yeah, so they're good cars. Like I said, the price has caught up, but like you can still find them on like Craigslist and like boomer cars, like where people don't know where to sell their car correctly.
Right.
You can still find like deals.
To the
thankfully.
point earlier, yeah, you have to get lucky at this point to
Yeah.
get one for a good price, but you can potentially. So yeah, I've
And
never
if you can, don't be
driven
afraid
an
of it.
FC.
Just do it. Yeah, no, they're great. I highly recommend it if you
Yeah.
ever get the chance. Like, it's one of those cars where it's like a Honda. Everybody will talk shit about them until they drive one. Suddenly, you will never meet anybody that's ever driven an FC that talks shit about an FC because they're great cars.
I do feel like almost everyone that I am aware of is one I see at the track. So it's always got an LS or a 302 in it. And I'm guessing a lot of them have 302s in them because that's been a really big thing for the last
Yeah.
20 years. But
That's the thing with the LS swaps. I hate doing LS swaps on rotaries. I totally get why you would.
well, I understand
Like-
because your Mondial Challenge answer is to put a rotary in the Ferrari.
Yeah,
So
like I get why you would get rid of the rotary, but I would implore that you don't.
I was going to say, just don't do it, especially at this point.
Also, I love that destroys the value permanently forever.
Good.
Yeah. So
If I ever buy an FC, it'll be a 302 FC.
yeah, I would. Well, I mean, yeah, you can go to LS. So yeah.
Well, I'm just talking
Did
like one that's been
I
done in the
accidentally
90s.
wear the right shirt, or is this not an RX?
No, that's RX-7. It's
Okay.
FD. That's the next
The
generation.
FD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you
I was
have
like,
your next
wait.
generation.
I always forget what cars. on this shirt.
FDs were very briefly affordable.
But the year on that shirt
Yeah,
was
1991.
FC.
Yes.
yeah,
Was FC.
that was FD.
It's
Actually, no,
also-
that was FD. It
What?
was the first year of FD.
I thought FDs were 93.
91 in Japan, I think. I could be wrong.
Well, you figure that out while I start talking about Chicago.
I'm really excited about this. I just pre-read it.
So I just had to cover this. It's not even really car related, it's public transit, but there apparently was a massive, and I mean massive, public utilities works power outage in northern Chicago that took down the elevated rail.
no.
To the
1992, sorry. 92 was
Okay,
the first
so
year.
FC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure like usually a year prior, but this is so for any of you that have not been to Chicago, this is a city that has a public transit system that is above grade. So it's not
Yeah.
a subway; it's one essentially
Elevated.
They
floor.
do have a subway though.
They do.
both-
It occasionally.
And it goes
it's
under,
just-
and
yeah.
it's Chicago's a weird place. I mean, they should have just left it burnt down, but
I like Chicago. It's a good time.
it's fine. But the L, as they call it, for elevated rail, very similar to New York, has been an institution of the city for like 100
Oh,
plus
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things. You go there and you're just like, okay, I know exactly where I am, even without seeing anything else in that city. But I digress once again. The entire north side of their transit system, which is pretty heavily utilized, was offline because it's electrically powered, and apparently backup generators aren't a thing, or the break happened between the grid backup generators
Oh,
and the
no.
I
L.
think that's probably what happened.
Probably.
Because they do have backup generators. I'm not really sure.
Anyway, these elevated rail stations have a service walkway
Yes, they
for them to do maintenance on. And after roughly an hour of waiting for a train and in delay form, people started just kind of walking around the barriers
I don't blame them.
for service personnel and started
None-
walking along the L
I
tracks
blame none of
Oh.
this.
to get places,
Yeah.
which is kind of hilarious.
That is
Yeah.
really funny.
No, that makes
Because like
sense.
this time of year, you don't want to walk on the streets of Chicago. You're gonna end up with soaking jeans and shoes. Like
That, and I mean, it's probably pretty chilly up there.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
say
it gets pretty windy.
100% of the situation sucks. Also, Chicago, time is everything there,
yeah.
and I'm not sure if you've ever driven from the northern suburbs to inner city Chicago.
I drive whatever route is fastest to get from here to there.
Okay, so that is a drive.
Closer, by the way.
The way Chicago's like set up, like the city itself, like metropolitan city of Chicago is like the size of all of the
Oh, it's
Twin
huge.
Cities.
Yeah.
And on top of that, so your suburbs, basically these people would be like coming a second ring suburb to Chicago, getting from second ring suburb to like downtown Chicago is like from our podcast studio to downtown St. Paul.
It's bigger than that.
No, I mean that's like the commute style. Like that's how it feels. Like
the
it is a
Metroplex is about
solid-
75 miles
Yeah,
across.
no, but I
so-
mean like it's a solid half an hour commute.
Oh yeah,
to, like,
time-wise,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like as far as like
Oh, yeah.
that's how it feels. It's like driving from here to downtown St. Paul. Like it is
huge.
forever. It takes so long to get anywhere. Yeah. So
Giving
yeah, I
you
don't
a
blame
nice
them.
crisp thumbs up.
I do not blame them at all for this. I would do this too.
I was coming back from, I think, my boss's house. There was an internet outage, so I had to go physically get feet on the ground and investigate. But this is in New Brighton to Roseville. For those not here, it's about a 4-mile drive through regular suburban city streets.
Yeah.
Crossing over a main artery, 35E, there is a pair of stoplights that kind of flank a railroad crossing.
Yeah.
And I think the railroad crossing has something to do with this because I was at the first set of lights where there's only room for 2 vehicles. I got up to this light as it turned red, and I didn't bother to actually look at the statute for how long you legally have to wait before you can run a red light. And I wasn't really in a hurry, so I just decided to sit there until it turned green, and it took 43 minutes.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
43.
Took 43 minutes
Why?
for this light to turn green again. I don't know. Didn't bother to look into it.
So
A lot of people were
I guess you're getting
driving
paid.
around.
You're
And
getting paid, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, I was on hold with the bank working through my auto insurance payment that went to the wrong account number or some
Oh,
shit like
weird.
that too. So I'm like, this is fine. I got Bluetooth and a heated seat.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I was warm, and these folks they don't look as
No.
warm because I mean,
it's never warm in Chicago. It could be 100 degrees outside and you're still cold.
and again, this is above grade in
Yeah.
the place called the Windy City. So
Yeah.
like that is not a pleasant walk.
No,
No,
this
and
would
it's right
actually,
on a lake,
to be
too.
fair, this would probably be better walk than on the side road because at
Yeah.
least you're in the sun.
True.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because when you're not in the sun, everything's cold. It's always you always have to have a sweatshirt with you.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia. It's always cold in Chicago.
Yeah, all the time. It's so irritating.
So, fun fact about stoplights
Mhm.
is they're supposed to, whenever something goes wrong, they're supposed to just automatically turn to the flashing red light.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't do that, they do get stuck on red lights, and you're just supposed to treat them like a stop sign.
The thing is,
But how long do you legally have to
the
wait?
bisecting traffic was still on a green,
Oh.
yellow, red cycle. Just my direction and the oncoming direction was solid red.
So
the
then I don't know how
entire
to
time.
fix that one. I was really excited to tell you about cycling lights and how they automatically.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know. On a motorcycle, it's like if you've waited through a couple cycles, just go.
Yeah.
Might even just be one. And like plenty of people were just driving through. Even a state trooper drove through the other. He was going through the bisecting traffic, so he got a green light.
Yeah.
Fucker.
So,
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
That's
speaking
just
of
so
the northern
interesting.
Twin Cities and Hibbing, which is like
Oh, I know Hibbing.
most of the way to Canada.
Yeah.
I like your
um,
microphone's facing you, by the way.
Yeah, I know, because it was hissing.
This is better. I like hearing your voice, Ryan.
Hopefully it
Thank
does,
you. It's
Hopefully,
so much better.
hopefully it doesn't hiss at me. 'Cause
It's not a snake.
so in Hibbing,
Sorry.
there is a man who discovered a vehicle stashed away in a basement of a house.
In a bit.
So, okay.
For 70 years, it was stashed away. And it's
Oh.
a totally good 1925 Pierce Arrow.
Love that.
That's
So, how did it... Why is it...
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
So, to understand the Pierce Arrow, this company made...
Oh, also.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
company
we'll do
made
another
the
one since
largest...
it's pre-war.
Yeah. No, this is pre-war. It's just 1925. It's not
Okay.
1915.
I'm not taking back the second thing.
No.
Yeah. So Pierce Arrow made the largest production engine ever put in a car. The Model 6-66 was a...
Wow, what a great number.
I know, right? I think
Okay,
it was.
I'll
I think it was a 18.5 liter, like 6-cylinder. It wasn't even an 8. It was
Is that what we picture here? Is this
no.
an
That's a smaller version.
Okay.
But anyway, so this car was bought like in the middle of the Roaring '20s and stuff. The guy that bought it made a bunch of money off of like coal and steel and stuff, and then like right as the Depression hit, he sold all of his stuff and kept his most of his money, enough to like not lose the house.
Sure.
But this car was driven for a few years after that and was parked 70 years ago in this basement. No idea how they got it down there, but
I
here we
to
are.
imagine the house was built around this.
It must have
It's
been.
like,
It's been there since 1952.
So there's this kid's book. She's a really old author, and they have a bunch of different books about industrial equipment. And there's one about a snowplow, and there's one about a steam shovel who ends up not building itself a ramp when it's building a basement for a city hall. And maybe that's what happened with this Pierce Arrow is they forgot to build a ramp to get it out.
Very well could have been something like that.
There's an older Top Gear episode where they interviewed a guy from Northern England that built an entire like TVR in his kitchen. He started as a winter project, and he just ended up like bringing all these parts in, and he built it, and he had to cut the entire side of the house out to get it out.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so this kind of thing is probably more common than we give it credit for.
So,
They just ignore it and continue living.
It's not a problem.
but yeah, so this car is like totally bananas.
It's on blocks too. Like guy did it right.
Yeah, the tires are pre-war tires. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
And the family is like totally bananas because the family, the owner of the car went to school in Switzerland. His sister survived the Titanic.
Oh wow.
She was en route on home from school on the Titanic when it sank.
I should meet these folks. They
These
got
are
the
the
same
coolest-
travel
yeah.
problems I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are like totally bananas to me. But yeah, so the car was shipped back to the like upper Minnesota during the Depression, and it was the guy's daily driver as he worked for the mining company
Okay.
up there.
Is it Minnesota Miners and Manufacturing Mining?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not. But so these cars are really cool, and this is why I wanted to mention this because it's a aluminum body
That's really cool.
on a
Oh
wood
my God,
frame.
in the 20s, yeah.
Yeah, a aluminum body on a wood frame in the 20s. Flathead inline 6, manual transmission, 4-wheel drums, which
Nice.
in 1925 is like
Mechanical or hydraulic?
mechanical.
Okay.
You're gonna die. But still, you have 4 drums.
Hey man, maybe only one of the cables breaks.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is like 4 drums in 1925 is like a big
Oh, I
deal.
know.
Like yeah, like up until the 30s, having brakes on all of your wheels is like cause for celebration.
Why would you needlessly break these rear wheels?
No, front wheels.
Oh, it's true. They were on the rears
Because they were on the
only
rears
first.
because they couldn't figure out how to make a flexible hydraulic hose or a flexible cable
linkage thing.
Yeah, cable linkage. But yeah, I think this is just really cool that the car's discovered
It's
down here.
Really interesting. And being in Minnesota, it being in a basement's really cool because it really like
Note to self.
protects it from
Need new batteries for the
all
keyboard.
the terrible ucky things.
I know, and like nice dry
tornadoes
basement like that.
and-
That's very cool.
Thing-
Also,
things
dry
mint.
basement.
Yeah.
So check this out. There's a maintenance sticker from the last time it was serviced in November 10th, 1949. It had an oil change done, and the transmission was serviced, and the air cleaner was cleaned, and the battery was replaced.
I'm sure the battery's still good. Was it on a maintainer?
So when did it end up in the basement? In the
1952.
okay.
But before that, like the car has probably about 102,000 miles on it.
That's
It
pretty high
was
miles
driven-
for a pre-war car.
Yeah, it was driven from Minnesota to Riverside, California 6 times.
Holy shnikes.
Sweet.
Yeah, like this car's had a whole life. This is a very cool car.
And that is pre-interstate, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and so they also have documentation of all this stuff too.
That's-
So
amazing.
that's how they can say it's got 102,000 miles because the odometer's rolled over already, and they're like, yeah, it's just it keeps going because Pierce Arrows are great. Like Pierce Arrow, they would make the world's largest displacement engine because they were very undertaxed and they were just very reliable actually for what they were. I mean, they'd make as much power as like.
I feel like the limitation on older engines like that was the garbage engine oil.
Yeah, I think so. That was a big part of it. But I mean, like
you can get around a lot of that by using better bearing materials, making much bigger bearings. I think that's probably what they did here. Like to your point, like
Yeah,
this is just like a super small end version of their, pushing the limits of technology.
Yeah.
Giant straight six.
yeah. What they did is they just make the engine bigger so it has to do less work and everything has more tolerances and just is more reliable. And because I mean, what's like the peak of luxury is not breaking down on your way to the opera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or California in the 40s.
Yeah, like it's really cool that they were able to do all that. But
I
yeah,
don't even like that drive now in a modern car that I don't have to drive.
yeah, this is
I'm not
very
a-
cool. But
I'm not a real man. Apparently.
I'm very excited that all of this car exists and it's just been in the same family's name and everything. And they're just like, oh yeah, we have this Pierce Arrow in our basement.
I like that this was in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
I just
very
feel
cool
it's-
thing.
It's kind of I was skimming the article and it was like they would just invite people down to their basement to show them. And I'm like, that's the most Minnesotan thing ever.
You know, another thing I just thought of, this is literally the perfect car for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Aluminum body,
Mm-hmm.
wood frame.
It's basically what my Model S is.
Yeah, that's a perfect car. You're never gonna have to deal with any Minnesota problems.
I can't even imagine what that body would have cost in the 20s.
It would have been insane.
Aluminum was so expensive back then.
It would have been absolutely bananas. Like,
I mean, we had electricity, so we could make it.
I feel like this guy probably had he probably had like a Stutz Blackhawk or something before this, or like
That was his winter beater.
or like a Mercer, and he's like, wow, this car rusted out immediately. I may get my next car with a wood frame and an aluminum body, so it just never rusts. And that's how you have a Minnesota car last forever.
And this is pre-road salt, too.
Yeah.
Would be actually an interesting thing to research what year they started salting roads, like
Yeah.
predominantly.
You could actually probably find that out from soil samples.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
I
like
assume that has, like,
somebody
the-
was making jokes about radiocarbon dating in front of me, which is a mistake because I will correct
Also,
you.
who jokes about radiocarbon dating?
They were talking about something getting burned on the grill, and they're like, "Oh, we can radiocarbon date," and I was like, "Actually, we can't radiocarbon date anything newer than the 50s because of all the radiation." And then they kept being like, "Well, trying to cover up their bad joke with more
I mean,
bad
yeah,
jokes."
I was going to say the same thing.
And I was like, I just schooled them about how radiocarbon dating is actually really hard to get a good sample, but it's getting better. But the range in which the date is usually pretty wide. Like
Okay.
it's good when you're dating so far back.
Sure, because the
but-
resolution doesn't matter quite as much.
Yeah, so you're gonna it might be a couple thousand years, but in the scheme of things,
Sure.
it's not much.
In the scheme of millions or billions,
Yeah,
not a big
so
deal.
the older it is, the harder it is. Like both easier and harder. It's radiocarbon dating, super interesting, but don't joke about it in front of me. I will correct
This
you.
is the first time I've heard about it. So.
Oh, it's so fun.
1942 is when Minnesota started salting roads.
Holy
Oh,
hell. So that thing
interesting.
has been through road salt.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it still looks that
It
nice.
had 10 years of road salt, and it looks that good. That's phenomenal.
I'm actually really happy I know that information. Thank you.
There you go. Now you know.
That's actually really cool. Did the what government resource had that information?
I had to look up. I googled when did Minnesota start salting roads, and they said 1940s, and then I changed my search terms, my SEO a little bit to optimize it, and then got to like a MnDOT thing, and they said
Yep.
between 1941 and 1942 winter. This is when they first started doing road
That's
salt.
awesome.
Wow. So we probably have a bunch of cars that are 1940 and older that are in much better condition sitting in
Yeah.
basements.
Probably, yeah.
Yep.
So, there you
So
go.
the Mercer Raceabout's in a different basement.
I'm okay with that. I would like one.
Also, damn it. Okay, Next story. So there's plenty of global turmoil. I'm not going to touch on the predominant one right now, but there is a GP race this upcoming week in Saudi Arabia. And wouldn't you know it, some Yemen rebels decided to bomb the ever-living shit out of an oil refinery about a mile away from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a couple people probably got some cold feet going to that there race.
I wouldn't.
Yep, there's also apparently like a bunch of people just being executed in the streets and things like that. So you should
Yeah,
probably
I wouldn't.
maybe just avoid.
I just wouldn't go. Why are they even doing this in Saudi Arabia?
Pro tip right now: probably just skip that race.
I would just, as a rule, avoid anything happening in Saudi Arabia for any reason.
Yep. You also can't drink there even in good times.
I know,
outside.
like
It's
you
just
literally
terrible.
can't. It's a really not.
See this
fun
thing I'm
place
doing
to
right
be.
now?
Yeah, no, you don't want to go there. Like it's not any.
do it.
Unless you're going there for Hajj, there's no other reason to go there. I would never ever go there.
People, yeah, I agree with you, but people still like this is like a
like people
destination.
Move to Dubai.
Yeah, why?
Dubai's not in Saudi Arabia.
No, that's
Oh.
the UAE.
Yeah, that's the UAE. Different, similar
Oh.
but different. Gulf states are
Why?
cool. Saudi Arabia is not.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
I need to readjust some things in my brain that are misconstrued.
the place where people
somehow.
drive Camrys on 2 tires.
That's both of them actually.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is bold. That was never mind. That was a terrible.
Hajwala actually occurs everywhere in like the Middle East.
Is that the term for
Yes,
that
that's
thing?
what that's called.
That is
Hajwala.
really cool. People just walking the wheel on a Camry at 120 miles an
Yeah, they
hour
do it
and
in
doing.
Pakistan and everything.
Oh
yeah.
man,
It's
super
really,
cool.
Like pretty much everywhere in the like Arab world, like from like everywhere from like Israel to like India.
I want to go
Hajwala
and
occurs,
watch
yeah.
that.
Yeah, Hajwalas are really cool. Like it's very very rad, and it's like divorced, like 6 degrees of separation from like American sideshow culture, which was adopted from African sideshow culture, which came from people that would work in like Yemen and stuff, and would go and do Hajwala stuff. Yeah.
So was Hajwala a thing before cars?
No.
Okay.
That's a car thing.
So that is
That is a car thing.
specifically tied to the cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like Hajwala and drifting combined created African sideshow culture from most prominently in South Africa is where that occurs. But
Oh man. When I was down in Texas, a couple of the friends of the main friends I visit are South African, and
Oh, cool.
they both immigrated here.
Yeah,
Immigrated here separately and like met here
Oh,
in,
funny,
in the
yeah.
United States. But they're interesting people, and they've got some stories, man.
yeah. So, yeah. So like our sideshow culture is not anywhere near as cool as that. It's
Oh, I'm
just,
sure
it's,
not.
It's just dipshits that came and figured out how to turn off the traction control on their Charger. Whereas like Hajwala stuff is like a lot of it's like Camrys doing like donuts 100 miles an hour, but like a lot of it's also like there's a larger car culture there where people like do like sand drag racing where they have like a 2,000 horsepower Nissan Patrol and they drag race in the sand. That's very cool.
Wasn't that? I don't know. It was a Patrol or a Prado on Top Gear with the GTR
Yeah, it was a Patrol.
swap.
That's a Patrol,
Wasn't
yeah.
that designed for sand racing, and they just
Yeah.
put slicks on it for
Yeah.
that? Okay, I thought so.
Exactly, yeah. Like they actually have like a bunch of really cool stuff that happens there. Politically, they're problematic.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean,
But I mean, also these aren't the politicians; these are the residents that live there that are doing cool things. Though the politics, like that's the thing is like I'm very surprised that F1 isn't like pulling out of there. Oh wait, no, I'm not. I know why they don't care.
why is that, Ryan?
Honestly, I think it's a racism thing.
Hmm.
Because F1 seemed to like care as soon as something happened in Europe, but
We
if it
race-
happens in like where
There's a
brown-
hashtag for this. We race as one.
Oh, is that a real thing?
That's the F1.
Oh, that's actually really
Oh
cool.
yeah.
But
well, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek. bit.
oh, but like that, like I don't know. It just seems like F1 doesn't care if it happens anywhere other than Europe. They don't care about like what happens to the people in which the country they're being hosted in. Yeah.
I'm pulling up an article thing right
Oh,
here.
okay.
It says
So-
Formula hashtag We Race as One
But the-
initiative to fight challenges of COVID-19 and global inequality.
So how tone deaf is that?
This
huh?
is
Just
unbelievable.
A wee
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, like, yeah,
Ugh.
I got on them at least for like taking a step forward with like canceling the Russian Grand Prix.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But,
yeah,
like-
and kicking off Mesa Spin.
Yeah.
Yes, the guy who actually was like okay with it. But like, they should take a step further and cancel the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Yes.
And Honestly, I think they have Bahrain. They also have another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bahrain, I'd probably get rid of as well. But like, you also very quickly, basically F1 races happen in every shitty country, like
Including Florida.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Literally, even in America, it's the worst part of America.
Yep.
But
They used to be in Texas, which is one of the worst parts.
Yeah.
Now they're in
Florida,
Florida,
which is
the worst part.
marginally worse. But yeah, no, like I think like Singapore they have one. Singapore, you get thrown in jail for like 15 years for spitting gum on the ground. They have Macau, which is in China, which is China. Yeah, they're pretty much all bad. Yeah,
This
there's
is
a
all
lot of
bad.
bad.
That's because land
They-
is cheap where
you're
tracks get built, and where land is cheap, people don't live there. And when people don't live there, it's because there's bad policies in
Well,
place.
no, I mean these are places where people live. Like people live in Singapore. Like actually, Singapore is very populous. But like, I don't know. I feel like Vietnam, they should have a race.
Oh, hell yeah.
Vietnam's a great country.
Oh, it'd be so cool.
They
I would
are-
love to go spend my dong there.
Yeah, Vietnam's good. South Korea's okay. Japan's okay. Like okay.
Okay.
I guess does Canada have a race? Maybe we
I
should.
don't think so.
Yeah, replace Russia with no. Vancouver has one. Yeah.
God, you said that's so Canadian. Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver has one. I'm just trying to think of like countries where you could put F1 races because there's so many problematic countries where races happen.
What about like Switzerland?
Yeah, they're fine.
But they're just
But
they're like
there's enough F1
so
in Europe.
neutral. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
enough
you're right.
F1. You need to be outside of Europe. I'm just trying to think of countries that aren't terrible.
What about Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico.
would be
They have
really
a Mexican
cool.
Grand Prix.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but like
Then I could go see some chimneys.
Cuba. Cuba's
Cuba
good.
would be
I would love
sweet.
Cuba. Cuba would be great. They should go to Cuba.
Although, let's be honest,
they-
what would be involved to create the track would
Yeah.
absolutely destroy that country.
It would.
But, I mean, yeah, you're right. Well,
It's
It
too
would be
small
great while
and
it's
it would be
working, but
very
you gotta ease in.
environmentally.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think Cuba would be a good place to start to like put on the list eventually.
Oh yeah. No, if we could like start the ball rolling and they could build their own track now.
I'm trying to think
Great,
of
but-
other countries I would like them to go to.
What
Ken-
about like?
Kenya. Kenya would be cool. I like Kenya. Kenya's a good country.
I want them to do like a winter GP. How about
Yeah.
like Iceland?
Iceland would be cool.
Iceland
Iceland
GP.
literally just normal
Let's
Iceland roads are
scale
like
that.
already good.
I
so-
know, right?
Okay, let's make that even more challenging and do it in Greenland.
Greenland is ice. Iceland is green. Gotcha.
You
yes.
know what? I think this would be
And Greenland
just
has
perfect.
volcanoes and
They
ice.
should do one in India on normal Indian roads without doing any prep.
No.
That'd be very
the race
exciting.
wouldn't.
It would be exciting.
finish.
It'd be very exciting.
You'd have to have really high refresh GPS devices on the car to see who did the most number of feet, and then declare the winner there.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah, it'd be a
But
very fast race.
You'd get Verstappen would get T-boned by a truck with like 80 people hanging
Well, no,
on the outside of it.
obviously you would close off the track.
Yeah,
but,
how
like,
are you going to get the locals to understand that?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you would close off the track, but I'm not sure if you've ever seen what Indian roads look like. The reason the DC Avanti looks like it does is because it was made to drive over gigantic potholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even if you close the track,
The
wildlife wouldn't.
There
kill you
is a very finite number of countries in the world in which have good human rights records and have good quality roads and are outside of Europe.
Yeah, that's a lot of qualifiers.
That's a lot of qualifiers, at least like a handful of countries, and I'm trying to think of like enough. Like Kazakhstan, like is high on that list for like places like relatively okay human rights records. And when I say like relatively, like better than Saudi Arabia.
So you're setting the bar low, so we can
It's
all
a
be
pretty low
pleasantly
bar.
surprised.
It's a low bar. I'm not asking for everything here.
Oh my
I know what the limitations are of F1.
How about a Ukrainian GP?
Yeah, I think that I genuinely think that they should replace the Russian GP with Ukrainian GP.
Yeah.
And like, just to like be like a thumb in the eye of like Putin even more is like put it in like Dnipro or like somewhere like in Luhansk where like Russia was like occupying Ukraine.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, just like on the edge where it's like, hey, remember when you had a race and then you decided to be Nazis? Okay, well, now the people that you invaded have it.
Totally not related or anything, but we're gonna have a GP right here.
Yeah, like literally
So,
right here.
Shoot.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to look. Look away. We're putting up walls so you can't see.
The built sections that we had between the U.S. and Mexico, we shipped them all over.
Yeah, and they'll be coming down after the race, but they're solely here so you can't sit in the Russian forest and watch. Like, you are just not allowed.
I'm looking forward to the really tongue-in-cheek saltiness that comes after this.
Oh,
Yes.
Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, speaking of Eastern Europe, we've talked about Nobe before.
We have.
Yes, and Nobe's made a pickup, which I'm a fan of.
It looks very old school. It looks
Yeah.
like a miniature F100, F1.
Yeah, no, it's just like any 50s pickup truck. So, yeah, no, they're very cool. It's it's an EV pickup made in Estonia. It's got a, I think, 1,500 pound payload capacity.
There's no way this would pass safety recs here.
Well, that's the thing is they're a low enough volume manufacturer, and
Ooh.
we just had
Yep.
yeah.
Nice. New legislation.
Yeah. So I will
How cute that thing is.
I'll read this paragraph word for word from autoevolution.com. We don't have that many details about the Nobe 500, except for a few renderings revealed from the company earlier this year, but now the automaker gives us some updates about the truck, stating it hopes to see it production will start in summer of 2022. Not only that, but plans to bring both the Nobe 500 and the Nobe 100 GT to America begin in the process of founding Nobe USA.
Oh, yeah.
So we are going to be getting it because of that low volume production rule.
Man, there's going to be so much cool stuff flooding in now.
I'm very, very excited for this.
Look how cute that little guy is.
Yeah, they're fairly small trucks,
Yeah,
and they
looks
carry 1,000-pound payload. They're fully electric, street legal. They're great. Like I was talking about needing a small truck. Like
Were you actually? Yes, many
Yeah,
times.
yeah, like-
the Bremok Taos.
yeah, and or even like a Ram 700, the Fiat Strada. I want the smallest possible pickup truck, and it's because there's some things where it's just I don't want a big bro truck. I want something where it's a little bit easier to clean. I don't have to care as much about the interior as I do with the van.
Also, it's electric.
And this is literally everything I need. And yeah, it's electric, so I don't have to pay for stupid gas. So, yeah, I'm very, very into this. I have a second link here.
Oh, that's right.
the
There was a
truck.
second.
Is a
Yep,
second
there
one.
is a second one. I'll pull
I
it.
can't remember what that link was for, though.
I don't know.
But
either.
it's something related to the truck, and it was apparently still
a
loading
spinning
up.
blue square.
Spinning blue square. All right, that's all I want.
Oh.
It is. Oh,
Estonian
yes,
citizenship.
Estonian citizenship. In case it doesn't come to America, that's what it was. I forgot. It's actually very easy to get citizenship in Estonia. So worst case scenario, I will just get citizenship in Estonia for this truck.
I mean, I'd like to have dual citizenship. That sounds cool.
They don't do dual citizenship. You would just
Oh.
have citizenship there, but it's a very nice country, so I'm here for it.
Well, I mean, hopefully they bring the truck here because I'm not
Yes.
planning to leave just yet. But
Yeah, I mean Estonia is nice, but I'd prefer living in.
I haven't been there, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, if it's anything like Bulgaria is a great country.
I
And then
have been there.
Yeah, because Bulgaria, what's really nice about Bulgaria is they're the fastest depopulating country in Europe, and all of the land is very, very, very cheap, and it's a genuinely beautiful country.
There's got to be a reason why it's depopulating quickly.
Because the EU allows you to go to any other country
Ah.
with just a passport for better work opportunities.
I see.
Yeah, and everybody that lives in Bulgaria is 80. They're just
So we need a Nobe factory in Bulgaria then.
yes. Well, I like Estonia more than Bulgaria, so
Fine.
Bulgaria is just easier to get to.
Well, I have no segue at all, but look at this. Look at this Jeep that looks like it's been crashed to show us this new inline 6 engine, which has been really poorly photoshopped at the wrong angle into this thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is really poorly
It
photoshopped.
looks like
The more you
Harvey
look,
Dent.
the worse it gets. It does look like Harvey Dent, but okay.
And
but
not my Accord. The
no, the
comic
actual,
villain.
the actor.
Ooh,
whatever.
ooh, are they even a cool name?
Yes, and that's mainly why I picked this up.
All right, tell me about it.
we've talked about the new Mopar Straight 6 that's coming, whatever, 3-liter twin turbo, yada, yada, yada. The resurgence of cool engine names, I think, is finally here. Because
I'm here for it.
we've had, the Voodoo, we've had the Coyote, we've had all these,
That's
the
true.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
This one, though, is called the Hurricane.
That's a good name.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's a lot better than Earth Dreams.
Yeah, or it's a lot better than N54 B30K, which
Yeah.
that's easy to remember.
BMW is the worst engine. No, actually Mercedes does. 'Cause
Oh,
Mercedes
yeah.
just does numbers.
Well, they do, and usually the numbers don't correspond to displacement either.
No,
so it's worse than
they're
BMW.
literally, it's a part number. It's awful.
But anyway,
This is
This
cool.
is good. It's gonna
Tell
be.
me about
it's
it.
Gonna
Tell me
It's
details.
gonna replace some hammies. which is good because we don't need that many hammies. 3-liter twin turbo. It's going to come in basically 2 hard trims and then a bunch of soft trims for power. There's a 9.4 to 1 compression version, which is oddly the higher tier trim, and then there's a 10.4 to 1 compression, which is the lower end one.
Okay.
They're both designed for 91 octane, but they're designed to run on 87, so Americans can keep just destroying these things with ass gas.
Cool.
471 horsepower for the 9.4 to 1 compression version. They haven't stated power on the lower ones. Electronic knock control will take care of the rest, but straight 6.
I imagine the 10.4 to 1, they probably run lower boost.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably why you can't run more boost on that. So
But it's going to be much more responsive down low on the 10.4 engine. So I would have to imagine the 9.4s are going to be in SUVs and the 10.4 are going to be in cars.
yes, probably that would make sense.
But we're going to have a series of much better sounding FCA products now. Because straight 6s always sound fabulous.
Not always, but usually. Three of my favorite engines in the world are straight 6s.
I can't think of a bad sounding straight 6.
There's a few.
I mean, the flathead, like, Continental straight
Those
6s, the
sound
Pierce,
cool.
those are wet.
Those sound
Those
good.
are just, like, as smooth and wet as you can make an engine sound.
You can make a straight 6 sound terrible, so...
What straight 6 sounds bad?
I'm being very slow and deliberate about this, but I refuse to say that straight 6s always sound good. Wasn't that GM Atlas? Didn't they make a straight 6?
Yeah, I think sounds good.
I don't know. Does it?
Yes, it sounds like a spicy flathead.
Okay. I'll think of one.
Yeah, okay.
There's going to be a bad one.
Just find the straight 6 that doesn't use a regular firing order or like a firing split.
No.
It's probably like an odd fire straight 6 that somebody
No,
made.
that would sound cool.
Mm,
But no, I'm just thinking of one where it has very little cam, and it's too long of a stroke. You just need something that's like a truck engine, where it doesn't rev very nicely. It doesn't have a good exhaust note because it doesn't have enough cam in it. There's got to be one.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking of General Motors products that have straight 6s because they're the ones that would screw it up. It'd either be GM or Volvo. One of those two would be the two that make a terrible sounding straight 6.
I don't know. You have to find it.
Ooh, actually, no, I do know. It's the really late model E46's automatic transmission with the exhaust just cut off.
That doesn't count. M54s sound really good.
Not always.
Yes, always.
Not always.
Yes.
No.
If some hoodlum cut off the exhaust, that doesn't count.
That does count.
That doesn't count.
That's a bad sounding.
No, all straight 6s sound terrible. Open headers.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But that's the thing is, you know who's going to own these? Because these are Mopars?
Oh, God.
Hoodlums.
There's going to be a lot of these in impound lots really quickly.
Yeah, no,
we're going to
this
see
would be
these
owned-
in U-Poles
There's
in
gonna
2
be
years.
You want
three
this-
in the really cool
so-
dealership by the Goodwill by our house.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, the dealership that sells the gold vinyl wrapped 10-year-old Mercedes.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
It keeps selling it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the one that had.
It's been sold 4 times.
There's a
So
lot of repossession happening there.
yes,
It's lovely.
the cars come back. I've seen the same cars be on the lot like 5 times, and they come back in worse condition. every
Buy
time.
here, pay here.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's my favorite dealership.
It is so
I would never
cursed.
purchase from there, but I walk by
So
there a
you know
lot.
what? I will amend your statement, and I'm gonna say you said that there's gonna be a lot better sounding American cars.
Mopars.
There's gonna be a lot better sounding low trim level American cars.
Yeah.
Because that will sound better than a V6.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where you're correct. Is it'll be better than a Pentastar.
And as long as you can get a standalone engine management computer for one of these, I mean, these are going to be in low-spec cars, so these are going to be in U-Pole lots, crashed
Everywhere.
on
Yeah,
lease
I'm here
in
for
like
it.
2
I'm
years.
very here for that. So
And it looks, I mean, complicated.
yes, it does.
Look at the oil fill, too. It's got a big old extender, so you can get it through that big plastic cover on the top.
Yeah, no,
that's
it
pretty dumb.
looks totally cursed. Not gonna
Oh,
lie.
yeah.
That's one of the worst
Looks
looking
like
engines I've
somebody
ever
threw
seen.
spaghetti.
Yeah.
But
I don't actually know where the valve cover is.
oh, I see it.
I see the
is-
cam phasers.
It's right there.
I don't. Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
really
like
short
it.
deck height. Wow.
You know what is gonna be really nice about this is when the aftermarket steps in and somebody makes a wiring harness that gets rid of all the wiring hair,
Is it spaghetti?
Uh-huh.
a vacuum block mounted to the intake manifold, a better air intake arm. That will help it a lot, and then an aftermarket valve cover would look really great on this engine. So this engine has the ability to look good once you put aftermarket parts on it.
Yeah.
But right now, it looks totally cursed.
Yeah, working on that. Getting to spark plugs alone looks really annoying on that.
Yeah, so there's a chance where this could be good, or it could be terrible.
Well, either way, it's called the Hurricane.
That's a good name. Did you know that GM still makes that gigantic 4-cylinder in the Silverado base model?
Yeah.
Somehow. I
don't-
don't have anything else I want to say about that.
I don't think they sell a lot of them.
No, but they exist.
I couldn't believe when we covered that originally. I'm like,
And they
what?
blew up like immediately.
Well, yeah, it's because you're stressing the bejesus out of a 4-cylinder with a turbo on 87 octane.
Yeah.
That is not a good recipe for American
Nope.
users.
That's not. You're right. I just wanted to end on that.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.